So what's up guys, I'm Black Ops Amazing, welcome back to another video on the channel, welcome back to a Q&A, the series where I take your questions from the comment section below to do with the zombie storyline, Easter eggs, and I answer them. If there's anything that you want to know for future episodes, leave your questions down in the comment section below, preferably to do with Black Ops 6 zombies, but it can also link back to the old storyline stuff as well, as you'll see in today's video. So getting straight into it, the first question says, why is Grey wearing Samantha's PJs? If you don't know what he's on about, one of the skins for Grey is called Samantha's PJs. It is this one right here, and the description for it says, donning Samantha's iconic PJs from Black Ops 4 Zombies, Grey's Samantha's PJ operator skin blends comfort and combat readiness in a nostalgic nod. But of course, what you want to know is, does this have any storyline implications? Because the last time we saw them being worn was in Tag der Toten by Samantha when she was a child. And now we see Grey in BO6 wearing them as an adult. Well, the bottoms, not the top, and she's also got a bobble on her wrist as well. These were the clothes that we saw Samantha wear all throughout her childhood, every time we saw her. So in Black Ops 2 Zombies, in the Origins ending cutscene when she was in Dr. Monty's house with Richtofen, she was wearing them then. In Revelations, along with all of the other kids, in Alpha and Omega, she was wearing them. And then the last time we saw her in them was Tag der Toten, where she was in the forest along with Eddie and the other Primus and Ultimus characters, where the multiverse was destroyed, they all died, leaving just Sam and Eddie to walk into this new Dark Aether universe together. These were the clothes that Samantha was wearing when she entered this timeline. Now, ever since then, we've seen her as an adult, and we haven't seen her wearing these, as you'd expect. That'd be a little bit weird, but we see Grey wearing them as an adult. The question is then, if Samantha had these as a child, how does Grey fit into them? Are these Samantha's exact PJs, or are they similar? Could she have had them remade? The funny thing is, we don't actually know much about Samantha's childhood in this universe. What happened to her when she arrived here between that point and the first time we saw her in D Machine, which must have been something like a 20-year time gap. So there is 20 years of events there with Sam that we don't know about. We knew that she was orphaned, but even her, because of suffering with memory loss, can't remember anything before the orphanage, which would have been when she was still a child. So if these aren't Samantha's actual PJs, then where are hers? You would have just thought they would have been scrapped, unless they had some kind of sentimental value to her, which is possible, because she was wearing them the last time she saw her father, for example. And we don't even know who brought them for her. Was it Maxis? Was it Dr. Monty? Because she was wearing them in his house, but I don't know, the idea of Monty getting them also kind of creeps me out as well. The other possibility is Grey is wearing these because Samantha is still lost, perhaps wanting to feel closer to her or remember her. She either had them made to match Samantha's, or Sam gave these to her. Or the third scenario is there is no storyline reason behind it. As the description says, this operator skin blends comfort and combat readiness in a nostalgic nod. And that would also be a good answer as well. Trying to find a realistic story explanation for this, such as these actually being Samantha's from when she was a child, and now they're magically fitting Grey as an adult, or she had them remade, to me sounds a little bit far-fetched, but it's fun to theorize anyway. The next question of the day comes from Dreamlad5353. This question is referring to one that I answered in the previous Q&A video, so if you want to go back and check that out, I will leave the link to it down in the description. But I showed you guys how you could find Dempsey's grave within Liberty Falls, not Tank Dempsey's, someone called Ruth Dempsey, but there is a clear relation between the two, having the same surname. So unless it's a weird coincidence, Trout knew exactly what they were doing with that situation. Ruth Dempsey is more than likely one of Tank Dempsey's relatives. But in reference to that, this person asked, seeing as this is a different universe, could Ruth Dempsey not just be a female version of Tank? I subscribe to the idea that all of the crew was born in this universe, but potentially as different or slightly altered versions. Maybe we get the old crew with similar names, but they look completely different in DLC. And I like this question because what he says has actually happened before. Going back to the old storyline, I'm sure anyone who knows about it would have heard of Cornelius Purnell, a very prominent character that was around since the beginning back in World at War. In Shino Numa, you heard a radio from Cornelius Purnell, which he sent to Peter McCain, the guy that we see hanging from the rafters in that map.
R-4808N 371406 115 4840.
Receiving this transmission, Peter. If you are not, then all is already lost. You must know by now that we failed to contain the asylum, and that we had to move the experiment here. Location. The numbers will guide you. The giant must remain at all costs. Repeat, der Reese must remain safe at all costs. The DG2 experiments continue. Might be our only advantage now. Find Dr. Dr. Max Max's. Only they may know what's going on.
So in the original timeline, that was from a man called Cornelius Purnell. However, in an alternate universe, Cornelius was actually a woman called Cornelia, where in this universe, she sends that exact same message to Peter. It's just that he is now a woman.
I hope you're receiving this transmission, Peter. If you are not, then all hope is lost. You must know by now that we failed to contain the asylum, that we had to move the experiment here. Location. The numbers will guide you. The giant must remain. At all costs. Repeat, der Ries must, at all costs. The DG2 experiments continue. You'll be our only advantage now. Find Dr. Richthofen and Dr. Maxis. They may know what's going on.
So using that same logic that we can have the same character exist in two different universes but as different genders. Okay, in this situation we also have similar names, Cornelius and Cornelia, but could we be seeing a similar situation to this gravestone in Liberty Falls? As the comment says, could this be the female version of Tank Dempsey that exists in this universe? Maybe because in the old timeline we had a multiverse, there were other universes that Tank Dempsey existed in as a woman already, but in the Dark Aether timeline, because there's only one universe now, could he have existed in it but as a woman? Like I said, I think the odds are very low, but what we do know is his family existed here. I think the more likely option is this was his sister. The next question from Donald Mustard Plays 2331 says, what happened to the spirits after Blood of the Dead? Do they still exist wandering around the Dark Aether? And would Peter still be alive inside the Nuketown mannequin? So in regards to Peter, no, because at the end of the Alpha Omega Easter egg, his soul was transferred from an AD-AM robot to an orb, where he was then free to roam around. So no, after that map he wasn't still trapped inside of the Nuketown mannequin. And as for the spirits in Blood of the Dead, well, that's a bit of a different question, because they weren't sent to the Dark Aether, nor were they ever there during Blood of the Dead or at the end of the Easter egg. Instead, the souls of all of the tormented and dead that are trapped in blood then became free to leave the Alcatraz pocket dimension. Does that then mean later on in Tag Do Totem, when we destroyed the multiverse and everything was banished back to the Dark Aether, did these freed souls also get banished there as well? I think there's a chance, right? I can't see any reason why not. We literally see in the Tag Do Totem ending, the Blood of the Dead map, along with every other location we've been to in zombies, gets sent to the Dark Aether, along with everything that exists there. Even though at that point these souls weren't trapped in the Alcatraz pocket dimension anymore, surely when the multiverse was destroyed they still would have been banished to the Dark Aether, because there was nothing else for them to exist in. Unless there's some stipulation that souls can't be banished to the Dark Aether, which doesn't seem to be the case. We know there are souls in there right now wandering around. That would also be the case for Peter McCain then. After his soul was freed from the AD-AM robot, later on in Tag Do Totem, he would have ended up in the Dark Aether as well. At the point we are at right now in the zombie storyline in Black Ops 6, is there a chance that any of these souls are still alive? Maybe. That's another really good question, because they're not in human form. They're not going to succumb to dangers such as starvation or being killed by some kind of zombie or a Dark Aether creature. So if a soul was in the Dark Aether, how would it actually die? And if it can't, then that does mean Peter McCain and these other Blood of the Dead souls still exist right now in the Dark Aether. That's never really crossed my mind, but it's definitely something to think about, because if they still exist, then there's a chance we end up seeing them again. And the final question of today from Bonehead7711 says, jet gun or beam smasher? So a more personal question, which do I think is the better wonder weapon? I think they're both really good. They're both extremely powerful. The obvious advantage the jet gun has is its unlimited ammo. Granted, you have to be careful with it, not to let it overheat, but it cools down quite quickly. The ammo is unlimited though, whereas the beam smasher isn't. It has a lot, but it can run out, and unless you get a max ammo, then it's expensive to buy more. I also kind of like how the jet gun is pretty much an infinite damage weapon, whereas the beam smasher at least feels like it takes more to kill on those medium to high rounds. They're both really good wonder weapons, but if I had to pick one, I'd say the jet gun. It might also be because it was so trash in transit, so to see it come back and it's actually good now. But let me know in the comment section below which you think is better. So there we go, guys. Thank you all for watching the video today. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed. If you have, drop a like rating. Leave any questions that you have for the next Q&A video in the comment section below. Click that subscribe button to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. Thank you all for 700,000 subscribers, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.